I am here with Art Therapy Buffalo, kind of part two of our chat. Last month, I chatted with Rachel Sikorski, one of the founders of Art Therapy Buffalo, about how she and the group use social media for promoting art therapy, awareness, and community, like among art therapists in the Buffalo and Niagara, New York regions. Just to kind of recap about Art Therapy Buffalo, and you can, if you haven't already listened to the first interview that I did at the end of June with Rachel, you can learn a little bit more there as well. But Art Therapy Buffalo is a professional group of art therapists whose mission is to advocate for increased awareness and access to professional art therapy services in the Buffalo Niagara communities of Western New York. And the members of Art Therapy Buffalo, they gather monthly to make art for self-care and network and plan for community education and advocacy activities. And this actually, I'm very honored to kind of be included and invited to one of their monthly meetups that they're having. So I'm Thank you all for that. And Rachel and I thought it'd be really neat to include other voices sort of in the conversation and chat, sort of around their work and what the group has been doing, as well as maybe how social media kind of plays into that. So I was gonna sort of bring it to the group to kind of introduce themselves, maybe individually, so people kind of get a sense of who's here. It's a pretty decent-sized group, so I'm very excited. Thank you. Thank you, Rachel.
Well, I'm Rachel Sikorski, as you already introduced. I have been an art therapist for the past 10 years. I'm a graduate of Nazareth College in Rochester. I live and work in Buffalo, New York. As you mentioned, I'm one of the founding members of our little professional networking group, and we really just, started this out to try to make sure we got together and, enriched our art therapy souls, make art, discuss cases, get ideas, and as time has gone on these past few years, we're finding ourselves doing more and more community projects and advocacy work together, which has been really, really fun. I have a private practice, and I'm going to pass it over to my colleague.
My name is Teresa Weston. I have been an art therapist for 5 years. Before that, I had a different life, and I was a graphic designer for 15. I was invited to become part of this group and the meetup by Rachel, who worked in a position before I did at a residential facility. And right now I work with teenagers and children through the county of Erie and Niagara, as well as I have private practice, and I'm also the art therapist at Western New York Children's Psych Center.
Wow, busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's it.
Yeah.
That's it now. Thanks. Hi.
Hello.
I'm Carla Reeves. I have been an art therapist for about 4 years now, and I came to our group actually invite from Rachel as well, because I interned with her during grad school, and I work at a day school treatment program, seeing kids ranging from kindergarten through 12th grade.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Michelle Volpe. I am not really sure how I got invited to the group, but I'm really glad that I did. I'm a graduate of Nazareth College. I work at Catholic Charities, and I do art therapy there with 3 to 21-year-olds. I have a background in play therapy as well, and our organization is pretty much trauma focused. Only art therapist in the entire Monsignor car. So that's kind of cool when Rachel emailed me to be a part of this, where more people were interested in art therapy, and for me to get the word out to Catholic Charities, that's what kind of got me intrigued to join this group. And I go back and I tell all my colleagues about it, and they're more interested about it too. So I think that's kind of awesome to get the word out to different organizations too.
Hello. Hi, my name is Sandy Crocker. I've been an art therapist for around 30 years. I work at Niagara Visions in Niagara Falls, the Community Missions Niagara Visions PROS program. It's a mental health program, daytime program, and so I work with people that have schizophrenia and bipolar, borderline, trauma issues, and anything, depression, anything like that. I don't know, I think that's about it. They're all adults, they have to be diagnosed and they have to be over the age of 18.
My name is Carrie Schwartz. I graduated from George Washington University. Have been a practicing art therapist for 6 years. And Rachel and Elizabeth Davis, who was not able to be here, approached me a couple of years ago about this idea for this advocacy and community group, and just was so excited. I work for Gateway Longview. It's an agency in our behavioral health clinic, and we serve ages 3 to 21 outpatient. I'm a clinical supervisor, so I'm lucky enough to have a number of art therapists that have been coming on.
Great.
Also trained in EMDR therapy. Hi, Gretchen.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Katie Mullaney. I'm an art therapist at an acute psychiatric hospital here in Buffalo. And I work with all ages from 5 years old to probably 90-something years old. So we do, groups and individual sessions, and I think I joined this group to just stay linked to the art therapy community. I worked in an outpatient clinic before this private hospital, and I think it was the only or one of 2 art therapists working there at the time, so it can kind of be isolating in a way. So just kind of staying connected with the art therapy community was really important for me.
So my name is Andrea Cook, and I am pretty new to the group here. I just moved back to Buffalo. I grew up here, and then I went away to go to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. Spent 10 years in Chicago. So I'm back home. I was working as an art therapist and supervising art therapists in skilled nursing facilities in Chicago. Now here I work for the Alzheimer's Association. So I'm an educator now, and I'm not doing art therapy directly anymore. So I'm really excited to be part of this group to find a way to still stay connected and find people who speak my language.
My name's Lisa Horline. I work in a day treatment program in Niagara Falls, and I do have a job title as an art therapist. I've been there for 15 years. Population seriously mentally ill folks.
It's kind of interesting as this group is unfolded and we find out that people exist in our community, we kind of go after them a little bit. And we're like, hey, so like sometimes it's LinkedIn, sometimes it's Facebook, sometimes it's email. But there are probably still some floating out there that we haven't found, but we really are very much interested in, getting any art therapists that we know who are living and working in this area to be a part of the group. And oftentimes we'll get emails right through our website. Somebody's maybe Googling art therapy, Buffalo, New York, and we have a pretty good ranking. And so we'll get emails from people who said, oh, I'm an art therapist. Can I come? Or I'm interested in studying art therapy. And we'll open our meetings up sometimes to people just interested in learning more.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Study. So that's kind of an interesting thing that has helped our group grow. Just how people exist and recruiting them, so to speak, to be part of our community.
I think we want you to have a social connection, so we're all pretty isolated, especially if we're not working with our therapist. So in the very beginning, just that excitement of, wow, we can connect with all these different art therapists that work in different places and different populations, and we can connect and talk about our work and make art. It's been very exciting. It's been lasting. And like Rachel mentioned too, just knowing that we have this home base in our area for students that maybe want to pursue. We get a lot of emails, and I've met with students for coffee who just want to options are and answer questions. So just knowing that we have a presence in Buffalo has been really motivating for me within our work.
Yeah,
It's like, oh wow, they're real. They're
educated.
around. They're among us. I went to grad school in New Rochelle, and it felt like the market was kind of saturated down there. And when I came up here, I felt very lonely, and I was very happy to find a lovely note to the next art therapist in line, which was from Rachel, and Rachel inviting me to join the group. So it was just a really like warm, fuzzy. It was awesome.
I think too, along with, you know, having this connection with all these wonderful ladies, Art Therapy Buffalo has been an awesome platform in helping me to continue to educate family members in what art therapy is. My undergrad and my previous life before art therapy was art education. I've constantly met with conversations about being an art teacher, and I'm not an art teacher, I'm an art therapist. So our art shows have really been a great opportunity for my family members and friends to come and able to make that like visual connection between what work I do and the artwork, and kind of, okay, so you're not an art teacher, and I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't rehabilitate people's art skills. I get that a lot.
Oh, I think in the same sense, it helps our colleagues, you know, the social workers and mental health counselors and supervisors that we work with. Again, you know, maybe there's like one or two of us sometimes in an organization, and we're continuously trying to educate our, you know, coworkers, and then to have like an event, like a, you know, a show for them to come and learn about what it is we do, you know, even though we work side by side with them, sometimes they really don't get it until they come to something like this, and talk to other art therapists, not just the ones that they work with.
Well, I did have a question in regards to the show that has been running. I wrote down more info sort of about it so I could sort of mention it, the Hope and Fear, using art therapy to cope in times of transition. That's been up since like early June, and next week, I believe, is like the closing of reception, right? Like at next, Friday. And so thinking kind of about that, I guess maybe describing or telling listeners like more about the show and what it's about and sort of the intention or how that's been helpful in different ways. It'd be great to hear more about that.
When we were getting together in terms of just the different transitions that have been happening in our country, politically, socially, we were finding within our work with clients that this was also coming up. And so we did have a show last year that was more of a general art therapy advocacy show. It was in a pretty large space, a lot of our work as well as client work. But this year we were able to come into this space, which is a little more intimate, and really explore this kind of hope and fear that we're having right now in relation to our work with our therapists, and then also personally and individually, and how we use art to represent that and externalize it the way that we do it.
We're also inspired by a couple of articles that a few of us came across. You know, obviously, and I know you've mentioned this on your social media, you know, accounts about Second Lady Pence being an advocate for the art therapy field, and you know, obviously, there's a bit of division in our own profession about what this means. You know, ethically, in terms of, you know, what the current administration is supporting and what they're not. And, you know, that this is just great publicity for us and for the work that we do, and having mixed feelings about that. So, you know, reading a couple of articles about that and what some art therapists are doing to kind of manage it. There's also a really great New York Times article just after the election about artistic responses to the election results.
Yeah, artists have really,
you know, article, like just people expressing their worries and their fears in particular. And so we thought, you know, wouldn't it be really great to do that somehow? To not just,
use art to express our fears or our worries or what's going to happen. And this has a lot to do with the anxiety that a lot of our clients are presenting with. It's like, we don't know what's going to happen to our healthcare. We don't know what's going to happen to, a family member, in terms of immigration stuff. But how do we move people from that place of hopelessness to empowering them to take part and be active and advocate and feel like they have some control over something. So where myself and my colleague Molly Maraca have our private practice is the same building, has a small little art gallery. It just so happens the timing was right that they wanted to kind of collaborate and get some more content in their gallery. And I thought, okay, guys, can we take a month and everybody make some art about hopes and fears, and let's put a show together. And this group of people really rallied together to make that happen. So the work on display is really a culmination not only of that inspiration, but of our collaborative efforts.
So important, because not only is it impacting like us as individuals, like what's sort of going on, as far as politically and in the world and in the country, but then how it also impacts the clients that we work with as well. So having a way to express that, I think, is great. And then be able to communicate that visually, like through the people who are coming to see the show, I think it is very powerful. So kind of bring up sort of that awareness and kind of trying to make sense of something, that it's really hard to kind of wrap your mind around.
I think that we had a conversation while we were creating there's an initial public piece of art that we did. One part was supposed to be hope, one part was supposed to be fear. And we had discussions about what it was supposed to mean to us and how we wanted to present it. And some were on the very political end, some were on the not so political end. And I didn't want to lean so political. I ended up kind of boiling mine down to something really personal that is affected by things much greater, obviously, but I chose for my hopes and fears to be focused on, my child and something much, much smaller than the big picture. And I think that giving our clients and giving the community the opportunity to see it at both ends of the spectrum and see where you fall in and where you lie, as far as what you are in control of and what hopes can you get out of your fears. I think that can really be a great example of what art therapy is. It's not even just the artwork itself, it's the thought process.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely.
And the dialogue that comes, part of the reason of putting on this show is it was, our second annual art exhibition, as Carla mentioned earlier about educating friends and family. What we learned at our exhibit last year, a client show and an art therapist show. So a lot of us response art. And there are a lot of really powerful pieces and a much bigger gallery. We really wanted to create a dialogue. We wanted people to connect with the work that we do, the work that our clients do, and how this isn't just product oriented. This isn't just about making something nice. It's about communicating an experience and then allowing people to relate to it. It was such an amazing experience last year when we had the opportunity to hear the amount of feedback that we did about how people connected to what it is we do. And so that was in part what we were trying to do with this exhibition. So trying to keep it not completely one-sided in terms of our own political, social points of view, but to our experience of it, and then allow the viewer, allow the community to connect, and a dialogue can come from that can be really connecting.
Yeah, and did you see any of that? I've seen some of the posts on social media that have gone out, like times for people to come and ask an art therapist or kind of start maybe that dialogue. What sort of feedback or conversations have happened in general, like about art therapy or a bigger sort of picture in regards to the theme?
Buffalo. So for our community sculptures, we started out at an event called Larkin Square. Larkinville is a place that people gather and have certain events in the community. And there's one night where they have a ton of food trucks and music. So that was the first kind of place our community sculpture lived before it came here for the exhibit for the month. And so that was really interesting because it was pretty empty. Like we had started a couple of things, and what we're asking people to do is take a piece of fabric and write or draw a hope and or a fear. And they could do both if they wanted, or neither. And then they could weave it into the chicken wire sculptures that we put together, tie it on, weave it in. And so that was really interesting. People were there for food trucks and for music and beer. And it was all about trying to pull them into our dialogue and into what we were doing. And so I had this businessman, a couple of businessmen that were kind of standing right in front of the sculpture with suits and ties and just blocking the whole thing. And so I ended up going up to them and asking them to come and engage, and one of them actually did. So I think just about helping, I guess, some community members to see what we do in a different kind of way that maybe wouldn't usually happen upon what we're trying to experience. It was really, really nice. Get them to just put the defenses down and take an oil pastel and write something and add some pieces and journalize something.
A real variety of people really helped that sculpture come together, for sure, of all ages and demographics, for sure.
Yeah, it was like that sculpture is like a map of our community. Like just such a huge range. It's amazing.
Last year's art show, we were all there for the opening, and I was with a woman that was viewing the artwork, and she came to one piece that my client had done, and there was an artist's statement about what she'd gone through with having bipolar. And the lady read what she wrote and actually almost started crying because it was just so moving. And to get a picture of what that might be like for a mentally ill adult, she never realized how emotional it could be for her. And the piece really showed it beautifully. So it was a really nice way to dialogue about, what our people actually go through.
Yeah, for last year's show and this year's show, we made sure that everybody who exhibited wrote a statement that, sort of not only tied the theme, to their work, but also, just had a bit about art therapy and, how is this material or process or whatever, useful and within that context. And we got a lot of really amazing responses, in both cases for both exhibitions.
I think the show gave a different point of view of our work. People are used to just doing art, and it shows it's just up on the wall, no art statement, no artist statement. So I think they got a really good view of how art therapy can reach inside and what it can bring out through art, and how healing can occur. So I think they just got a whole different eye opener on what art therapy does.
And there's nobody who can describe it better than our clients did. The clients that did shoot it, here's how art therapy helps me, and this is the kind of stuff that I do. And you can't really package a better, a better ad than that. I mean, really, people were able to connect with these very personal expressions and descriptions, and how art therapy is helpful. And it's really the crux of what our group is trying to do, is not only stay connected to one another, feel supported, but there are people out there that aren't able to connect with what we do, and they should. And we hope that brings more and more opportunities for access to art therapy, locally, let alone, beyond that.
Yeah, I know on the Art Therapy Buffalo website, like the web presence has sort of different information about members and services and ways to connect, whether it's private practice or agency sort of work, which I think is a great way to kind of connect to the community online as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're always trying to help people get access to people. So, for us, the resource is much as much there for our own purposes to refer people to, like, check this out, see who you contact them, but it's a really good way for, just general folks who are curious to ask questions, and there's a great number of minds and experience levels here that can help us answer and direct people.
I think too about how there's that physical accessibility, like through the actual exhibit and sort of being present, and that the art sort of being on the walls and people being able to engage in person, face to face, but then also the accessibility of like being online as well. Like if people have questions about art therapy, whether that's an agency that's interested in the services in art therapist, or a family or a client that would like to know kind of more about its benefits, that there's kind of both of those kind of worlds that people can reach out to in some way. And I think that's great.
I know for me too, I'm not very social media savvy, and so when Rachel started putting together an art therapy Buffalo piece to put online, I was like, yeah, this is great. And then I saw it and I couldn't believe it. It was awesome. And it's like, wow, Sandy, you're on the thing, and people are actually going to see and know that you're an art therapist.
No, that's present.
So this was something really special for me. It really, it makes you feel really good. It started something, and something that's worthwhile, and, we're spreading the word about our therapy. It's so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one of the questions that I had kind of around like social media specifically is like, what ways do sort of people in this group think that social media can be beneficial for art therapy professional groups and regional communities, either what you've seen, just as you sort of described with all the things that were sort of set up, or just like you're in your own kind of professional experience of how maybe you've accessed or used social media professionally. Are there any sort of thoughts around that?
Well, I know I just did a creative arts workshop for artists, kind of a transformational type group. And I went online and I was finding all kinds of wonderful things, including from, our own art therapy heroes, like Boone and different folks who are online and have done videos. One Sean McNiff did, and it just gave me so many wonderful ideas for my workshop series.
Mm-hmm.
Dance, all kinds of things that people have put online, and so for me, it's very inspiring.
Mm. So, like, not only like for your own like inspiration and feeding kind of what you're developing, but something that then you can use to kind of communicate to others kind of therapy. Yeah, there's a lot that's out there.
Too, with our community being so tech heavy and social media friendly, and everyone's so consumed in it. My clients don't have access to phone or their computer when they're with us, but it's nice for me to be able to say, hey, when you're out of treatment and you want an art therapist, you want to continue this, just look online, just Google it, and you can find it. And they can remember that for some reason, but they struggle with remembering the other thing. But it's just a nice avenue to be able to have.
For them to be able to find like future services using an art therapist or referrals post-treatment, or if they ever need like additional sort of support. Yeah, because I think the way most people, I think, find information about sort of anything is sort of online, like Googling things, or through different maybe social networking platforms. And I think that as our therapists, the messages that we put out and communicate about what art therapy is or the work that we do is so important, because there's also, like, you know, anybody can put anything up too, you know, even if they're not really trained, or, you know, it's not really like from an art therapist, you know, it can be misrepresented. So I think that the more sources and information that we are able to put out there that's like legit and, you know, is beneficial for clients to be able to find appropriately.
I think especially with like adolescent and youth, that social media is such a popular aspect in their life right now.
Mm-hmm.
I know with some of the clients that I deal with, that they feel like if we're a part of Facebook or social media, they'll like look at me like, you know what Facebook is? So for them to see art therapy to be involved in Facebook and social media can kind of link them to appreciate it more and understand what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
And look it up and still kind of be cool.
Well, there's a handful of us that have access to social media accounts, and then there's some of us who remember to use it, and some of us who don't ever use it, and that's okay. But you know, when we have an event like the show or the LARC event that's leading up to it, it's a catalyst that allows us to do more on social media. So I think you know, it's important for us to do events so that in promoting events, we're thinking about keeping up our presence, and we're thinking about, you know, sharing articles or, you know, retweeting your posts, or like, you know, trying to remember that we have to continue to tend our garden, so to speak. Because life gets busy and work gets busy.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's always kind of a challenge and a balance, you know, between being active kind of on different social media platforms and not being overwhelmed or totally sucked into that as well. So it definitely takes, some awareness around that. Yeah. But I definitely think that like this exhibit and other events that you've done in the past, like being able to bring that promotion and intention to others, like outside of sort of the region and the area that you guys are in, you know, that other art therapists and professionals and perhaps consumers of art therapy can kind of see and learn from as well. That wouldn't be possible without the networking that can happen with social media. So and I think it's a great, like I said before, like a really great model for like other art therapy communities and art therapists to form for support for one another, and then ways to bring sort of education and awareness to their area as well, to see, you know, what another group of art therapists are doing to kind of create that. It's you know, instead of reinventing the wheel completely, to kind of see like, yeah, they're sort of putting this sort of together, and that's inspiring to see as well. So yeah. Like thinking about future sort of events or things that Art Therapy Buffalo would like to kind of do, or what do you see to sort of be like down the line, either the rest of this year or maybe next year, or things like that?
We've got all kinds of ideas, you know, ranging from, you know, let's just do another exhibit to how do we start a not-for-profit someday?
Oh, uh-huh.
And that's, you know, my colleague Lisa Horline and I went to the ADIS conference last year, and we sat in a workshop about the not-for-profit that they started down in Texas. The city is escaping me and the name of it is escaping me, but, you know, it was basically hey, here are all the things you've got to consider before you. And the takeaway, at least for me, I'll let Lisa speak for herself, but was like, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of money. That's a lot. That's a lot. I really appreciated that from an art therapist perspective, but I think similarly what they were trying to do is, you know, have the kind of, you know, grant funding to be able to make art therapy accessible in their community. So, you know,
while in the short term, my hope in particular has been, if enough people know about it and want it, they'll seek it out, and that means more opportunities for us, and that might even mean more agencies hiring. I think that we have in Buffalo is we don't have a graduate program here anymore, and we don't have interns coming, out in our community very heavily looking for placements, and those placements are turning into art therapy positions. That, is on our radar too, if and how that could be possible, if and how we can make this little group turn into something that really does create more opportunities for art therapists and clients looking for services. But, that particular workshop and at the ADA conference was a deterrent to run, jumping into such an endeavor quickly. But I think it is food for thought for many of us about, how, in what ways can we turn this into something, or have an actual art therapy Buffalo center, where we work and we provide services. It's part of the dream, and who knows?
We're also, we have been talking, but I think it's probably a conversation that's been going on for a while and will continue to, being covered by health insurance. That's one of the big things, and we need an art therapy lobbyist or something. But one thing that that I've learned a lot about working independently and what that is going to take from you, and what you need to give to that, and how it's so rewarding and so difficult at the same time. And it's really nice to have this group for support for that. And I am surprised and actually imagining a lot of these women in here also doing independent private practice. I go to the Expressive Therapy Summit in New York every year. There's always something about running private practice, and it's always informative. And I like when they have panels and, give you all the dirt and all the great stuff too. So
definitely helps create a sense of support, and especially when you're working on your own or independently, which is great. I mean, there's lots of flexibility and nice sort of perks that kind of come with that, but then there's also, some of the challenges too with that, and to be able to kind of come together with others locally, as well as through other offerings like the Expressive Therapy Summit or the ADA conference, I think is, so great too.
Another thing that we talked about doing sometime soon is doing like a skills share together. So, it's exciting. The people in this group have experience and expertise in all sorts of different media, and so the idea of being able to get together and learn from one another and be able to bring those new skills and new ways to express ourselves in different modalities to our clients, I think is a really exciting process.
Well, I thank you all for being able to add your voice kind of to this conversation, and all the inspiring work that everybody's doing, within their own work as an art therapist, as well as the community as a whole with Art Therapy Buffalo. It's so great to kind of, hear like more sort of about it, even though it's like virtually. And maybe one day I'll be able to like come out, or if I'll be at the ADA conference in Albuquerque, so maybe our paths might cross there. If any of you are attending there, it'd be great too. That's one of the things that I love doing is meeting people in person that I've connected with or done things with online or virtually. Nothing replaces that like in-person, face-to-face kind of meeting as well. So thank you all for taking the time to kind of be part of this, and I hope that the closing reception next week goes well. And I look forward to kind of following and seeing sort of the future things that Art Therapy Buffalo does. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.